Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is Angelo Christmas and me documenting my journey to $20,000 per month with high ticket sales. So, in the last video, I obviously mentioned that I started a closer position, and for the month of April, I'm finally committing full time to closing and no longer setting again. So, firstly, I want to start off by just talking about how the change has been from setting to closing full time. Uh, it's much better. I feel like it's a lot more enjoyable, not as tedious as setting, because with setting, I'd be just dialing on the phone like 8, 9, 10 hours a day. One day I even worked 12 hours straight. Well, not 12 hours straight, but I was active for 12 hours on the dialer throughout the day, which is, a crazy amount of hours. But with closing, I like it a lot more because, it allows you to focus on quality over quantity. Because the calls generally last about an hour long, you can normally only speak to about, you only get about 8 to 10 bookings like a day, which is like the average amount. And you speak to much less people, but you can make much more compared to setting. So I'm really enjoying it. Numbers have been very good. That's what I'm going to dive into now. So far since I started in the last week of April last week of March, sorry. And since then till today, which is now the 7th of April, which technically is the 8th of April now, so that it's midnight as I record this, I took I had a total of 12 calls that I actually spoke to people. And from those 12 calls, I closed 5 deals, which is a very healthy close rate of 42%, which is really good, especially for just my first few calls. And it can only get better from here. There's a lot of work I still need to do, a lot of improvements I need to make. So that's only going to increase and go higher. So really excited to see how the rest of April plays out. The only thing with the offer I'm on at the moment, the fitness offer I'm closing for, it's a decent offer, but the show rate is very bad. Like since I started, I only took 12 calls. Like I only spoke to 12 people, but I had 53 people book onto the calendar. So that's actually a 23% show rate, which is really bad. So after being on offer and experiencing that, it was kind of like a bummer, I guess you could say, because there's so much of time I'm available and there's so many calls that I'm supposed to be taking, but these people just don't show up. And I try contacting them, but they're not responding. So, and the main reason for that is because it's paid ads, and the company just started using paid ads recently. So before it was more organic, setting the people on the influencers account. Now it's paid ads, and I think because it's a colder audience, they're not as committed to attending the call. So that's obviously something that hopefully can improve as the weeks go by. But nonetheless, something really exciting happened for me. It was actually yesterday. Well, yeah, yesterday it happened. So for those of you that don't know, previously I was setting for another fitness company, and the only reason I decided to set there was because I was told that if I prove myself as a setter, I can then transition to a closer after 6 weeks. 6 weeks went by, I became the top setter. I put the most bookings on the calendar, had the most cash collected, and generated the most revenue for the company. However, when it was time to transition me to a closer, for whatever reason, he said, guy that hired me said that they can't hire me right now due to lead flow and all this sort of stuff. So, long story short, I wasn't able to start closing. So I continued setting for a bit, but because I wasn't actually able to close, I started looking for a different offer, and that's how I found this offer. Now, this offer is decent, like I said, but it's not as dialed in yet, meaning it's a small team. I can make decent money, but earning potential is nowhere near as high as what I could make on the previous offer I was setting for if I worked there as a closer. So what happened was the guy that hired me, even though he said he couldn't hire me at that time, he said he'll keep me in mind for when they do hire people. So, drum roll, he messaged me to ask me if I want to start taking calls on the closing team. So then I was like, yes, I was so excited because with this offer, It's a huge company. They do millions of dollars a month. The offer's dialed in, show rate is good, everything is dialed in. And I know that I can hit my goals at that company because there's other people that do the same numbers I want to hit every single month consistently, which is $20,000 per month. So I responded and said, yes, of course, let's do it. Now, obviously, I need to figure out how I'm going to balance the two roles for now. But ideally, I want to just give all my focus to VShred, the company I was setting for. So at the moment, I've just completed like the onboarding forms for the closer position, and I'm going to be continuing with the onboarding process. And hopefully, I can start taking calls this week, but the latest next week, based on what I've heard so far. So it's been quite a wild ride, since I started in sales last year. For those that don't know, when I started in sales back in May last year, VShred was the same company I was closing for. That was like my first like proper offer. And I landed a closer position for them at the time. Keep in mind, I had no sales training, no experience, and it was just my first actual sales position. So I was pretty new to the space and I didn't really have any skills. I was just going off based on like, my own sort of vibe and the videos I've watched on YouTube. So that being said, at the time when I started closing for them, I was still working my normal 9 to 5 job at Amazon. And when I started in May, alongside my Amazon job, I was able to 4x my income in 1 month, taking calls alongside my job. So at that point, once May had ended, I decided to quit my job. And I went all in on sales and I went all in on closing. And then June came around. Now, another thing I was supposed to mention, even though I 4x my income, my close rate was not good at the time. It was probably around 15 to 18%, somewhere in that region. So below 20%, which was the standard they wanted us to maintain in order to stay on the team. So yeah, even though I wasn't able to maintain that standard, I believed in myself to increase it. So I was still brave enough to quit my job and make that decision. However, long story short, even though I gave it my all, well, one thing I want to say as well, like with this company, they pay us on the 20th of the following month. And I remember that time quite clearly. It was June 20th when I got paid, and I think the money cleared around like 23rd or 24th of June. And by that time, I was still taking calls and I had quit my job. I was just focusing full time on closing. And I remember the day that like the money came into my account, and it's the first time I really made a good amount of money online after trying for like so long to make money online and quit my job. So the feelings were incredible. My feelings were like up here. I was like at a really nice high. I finally quit my job after years of trying to quit my job. I 4x my income, and the money just hit my account. And I was thinking about all the things I'm gonna do with it, and it was an amazing day that day. And then on that same day, I received a message from one of the sales managers on the team saying that because my close rate is unfortunately below the standard, that I'm no longer going to be able to stay on the team and take calls again. So my high was up here and it went right down here. Oof. It was a wild day, but looking back, everything happens for a reason. I didn't use it as an excuse to say this isn't for me, or say that sales is not for me, it didn't work out, I guess I'll just go find another normal job again. Maybe success, maybe achieving my goals, maybe that's not possible. I use that as fuel, I use that as determination to actually come back stronger and put myself in the best possible position so that I can become a closer again. And ideally for VShred, the company that I was, fired from. And that's what I'm doing now. So since then, I was setting for a different company. After I left VShred, I managed to find a position as a setter. I actually went a whole month with no income because it was tough for me to find a position. Lots of interviews, lots of fake opportunities, and when I finally did get hired, Funny story. I've mentioned it already on the channel, but when I got hired, the interviewer, he told me on the call that he doesn't feel I'm a good fit for this position based on my experience, XYZ, and what. It was a group interview. And he asked me to kindly leave the call. He did the same thing to the guy that was speaking before me. And that guy just left the call. Me, I was like, at that point in my life, I had no income. I was like, fuck that. I know that if they hire me, I'm going to perform and I'm going to outperform every other setter on the team. So I basically told him, uh, I basically said, do you mind if I challenge you on that for a second? I'm literally objection handling him on why he needs to hire me in front of four other people that also want the position. And I basically told him that, because of XYZ, this is why you need to hire me. And I assure you that if I come in, I'm going to outperform every single setter and become the best setter on the team with full conviction in my voice, no stuttering, nothing. And the guy was like so impressed. He was so shocked and he decided to hire me even after saying no. And long story short, a couple months later after joining that team, I did become the top setter. And I even 5x my previous income at my 9 to 5 about 2 or 3 months later after joining. So there's always two ways you can look at there's always two ways you can look at things when they happen to you. You can either see it as a bad thing, or you can see it as a reason for you to push even harder and for you to get even stronger, get more skills, get more confidence, have a deeper desire to achieve your goals, make the flame inside you burn even bigger, even brighter. So that's what I wanted to share. And then I became the top setter at that team. On the last month, I became the top setter. I got the most calls attended on the calendar. And then what happened after that was I saw that V-Shred was hiring again for a closer position. So I was like, fuck, I am sitting here. I'm making decent money, but the agreement was that I would also start closing pretty soon after I sat there. But that wasn't really happening. It was taking longer than expected. So when I saw that they were hiring again at V-Shred, I was like, damn, I'm gonna apply now, because all that time while I was setting, I was still working on my closing skills because my goal was always to get back into closing. So setting was just a stepping stone just for me to keep my head above water and pay for my expenses and whatnot. But the goal was always to get back into closing. So every time I wasn't setting, all the time I had available when not setting, I was working on improving my closer skills through like free mentorships and YouTube and whatever training material I had access to. But then when I saw that V-Shred were hiring, I was like, look, I'm just gonna make this. I got like chills through my body when I saw that position, because I was looking at that application and I was just picturing myself, like, visualizing myself, like sending the message, getting hired, hitting 10K per month, hitting 20K per month. And I literally got like chills through my body because I knew that just from seeing that one application, my whole life could change. Like, obviously if I apply. So, and a part of me was hesitant to apply, because of what happened, because they let me go because I wasn't performing at the standard they needed people to perform at. However, I overcame that resistance. I never let that bitch voice inside my head hold me back from becoming the man I know I'm destined to be. And I applied either way. And I DM'd him, I let him know why I feel he should hire me. And he basically said that, look, we gave you a chance last year. You didn't really prove yourself. So he wasn't really open to hiring me again. But as you know, I don't take no for an answer, at least not the first or second time round. So I basically objection handled him through messages on why he should hire me, even though I didn't perform last time. And he said, okay, look, we can't hire you as a closer right away, but if you come in as a setter and you prove yourself for at least 6 weeks, then we can transition you into a closer. And then I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I switched roles and I started setting for that company. And 6 weeks later, I was a top setter. I generated the most appointments on the calendar, smashed company records, and generated the most revenue as well. And then, unfortunately, at the time, I didn't actually transition to a closer, because when the time came, they didn't really want to hire me, which I've already kind of explained already. But now I can actually say that I am going to be back on the closing team. And I'm extremely excited because it's, as I mentioned already, it's an amazing, the company is very big. The offer is very dialed in. There's people on an offer making 10, 15, $20,000 per month consistently. So I know that it's just up to me to perform, and I can definitely hit my goal of making 20K per month in commissions as soon as this month, to be honest. Like if I start taking calls like in the next couple of days, it sounds crazy, but I could still hit 20K per month this month. It's kind of pushing it, but it's possible. And I know that with my skill I have now, that maintaining that minimum percentage of 20-25% close rate is going to be extremely easy. So I'm excited to know that you know I'm back on the team. And funny story, when I actually left the team, I told the guy that hired me, I will be back and I will make it to the top of the leaderboards. And now I am back. And now I will make it to the top of the leaderboards, because that was my goal when I initially joined the closing team. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Just wanted to share my journey, where I am so far, the where I came from, and where we're at the moment. And I'm really excited to transition to closing for this company full time now and start smashing those 15-20K per month consistently too. So yeah, if you made it this far to the video, I appreciate you. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment if you haven't, and also please subscribe as well. I'll really appreciate that. And if you want to see more of these videos, make sure you stay tuned in. I'll be posting them every Monday. And if you want to follow my journey a little more closer, make sure to follow me on social media, where the links will be in the description below. So I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I hope you have an amazing week. And don't forget, you can achieve anything your heart desires. It's just up to you to put in the work and take action, raw, relentless action, and believe you can do it. So have a good one. Stay safe.